Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Almost Game Day. As always, I'm your host, Sean Green. We have finally made it. Super Bowl week, Bucks, Chiefs. Everybody's pumped for it. Everybody's been waiting for the last 2 weeks to see this matchup. We see, again, Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes coming back to the Super Bowl, second year in a row. So I thought, what better to do a full-on Super Bowl preview, Super Bowl episode, and give you guys the information you need before the big game. So I thought, who better to bring on to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers than a fan himself? Nick Geddes of HTF Bets is joining me today. Nick, how excited are you for the Bucs to finally have relevancy again?
You say that relevancy because we haven't had relevancy in 15 years, but it's been an exciting season. Obviously, Tom Brady has just been unbelievable for the city already. I told you already, I'm ready to build him a statue if he wins on Sunday, and a statue they build, they should. So I'm very excited. We're 4 days away. I can't wait to get it on.
That is something we can debate. If he wins this Sunday and the Bucs build him a statue, that's just ridiculous. But let's get into Tom Brady for a second, right? Comes over from the Patriots, joins the Bucs on a 2-year deal, paying him a lot of money. You had Jameis Winston. What difference has Tom made? Not, of course, just being the GOAT, but what has he done to the entire team with pretty much the same roster as last year to have this much success?
He's a culture changer. I think you're seeing right now the Patriot way is the Tom Brady way. And when he comes into a locker room, you better buy in or you better get out. And it's been the same thing they've been doing all year long. There's a lot of personalities in this locker room with Antonio Brown brought in. And guess what? You don't hear anything out of Antonio Brown anymore. He's a good little soldier like he needs to be with Tom Brady. And it's been a great acquisition. Ndamukong Suh is another strong personality. You don't hear anything about Ndamukong Suh anymore. That's what he does. He comes in here, he gets the culture right. It's about winning Super Bowls with Tom Brady, and it's rubbed off on a lot of these players. And that's just something that Jameis couldn't do. And then, of course, interceptions-wise, Tom Brady has thrown half the amount of interceptions that Jameis Winston did, and we're a Super Bowl team now. That's also a really big factor in why they're in the Super Bowl.
So let's talk about basically the Tampa Bay Patriots, right? Head coach Bruce Arians. Who is really coaching this team? Is it Tom or is it Bruce?
I think it's a little bit of both. And, Bruce has said he lets Tom coach this team a little bit, unlike he kind of threw a little shade at Bill Belichick, said the Patriots didn't let him coach. So I definitely think as this year has gone on, Tom Brady, this offense has taken on the identity that he wants it to take on. And I do think that they're calling a lot of plays based on what he wants. And I think look no further than Leonard Fournette being involved as much as he has been in the passing game. Even though he's kind of an average pass catcher, Tom Brady has never shied away from it, and that's something that's really helped whenever they need those checkdowns or those short little 5-yard first downs. So I definitely think Tom Brady is definitely running the ship more than Bruce on the offensive side of the ball. But Bruce is the ultimate, just stand back and let his players go, and I think that's why he's very respected among his players.
So let's talk about some of those acquisitions, right? You got Rob Gronkowski, you got Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette. Just those 3 guys alone could make a super team wherever they went. So let's talk about Gronk. What has Gronk done this year? Because obviously the production hasn't been there. But how different is he as a player with the Bucs than he was with the Patriots?
Well, Sean, he's blocking a lot more. And I know he blocked a lot in New England too, but having a Cam Brate, somebody that you've seen in the playoffs, he's been the primary pass catcher. In these playoffs where it's important that you have to keep Brady upright, Gronk has played right next to Tristan Wirfs all postseason long. He hasn't had to do much in the passing game, and I think that's a lot different from what we've seen from Gronk because they know that he can't go like he used to. So use him as almost a decoy, and you can get him. You saw in that Packer game, he had 1 catch and it was for 30 yards. Use him as a decoy, get him open as a disguise, and it works really well. But he's doing an amazing job blocking right next to Tristan Wirfs, and I think that's what's keeping Brady upright. So I think Gronk definitely has come on in that part of his game, which he always was excellent at it anyway. But that's what he's being asked to do, and he's doing a very good job at it.
Now, let's go into, I know we don't want to look past the Super Bowl, but as a fan, you have Leonard Fournette that I'm assuming the Bucs will re-sign if they can. And then you have Ronald Jones. Who do you want as your starting back for the next couple of years?
I think you've got to go with Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones was the better running back the entire year long. And right now we have this playoff Lenny that's going around, playoff Leonard Fournette. He's been awesome in the playoffs, and it really has prohibited Ronald Jones from getting on the field much. and it didn't help in the Washington game that Ronald Jones didn't play with an injury. But throughout the year, Ronald Jones was the guy. He just got to find a set of hands, because when you're playing with Tom Brady, you got to catch the ball, and Ronald Jones does not catch the ball. And I think that's why they've trusted Leonard Fournette more in that role. But Ronald Jones is the younger running back. He's more explosive. He hits the holes better. So I think you got to go with Ronald Jones going forward. I personally would let Leonard Fournette walk, because the Bucs are against the cap, and we got a lot of decisions to make, and I don't think Fournette's a priority.
So let's look at the game on Sunday, right? You're playing a team you've already played in the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, that first half, it looked like the Bucs were going to get blown out by 40. But in that second half, they found something that many teams wouldn't against the Chiefs. They came back, didn't finish the job. But as a Bucs fan, are you very confident going into this game knowing of how great you fought in that second half?
Yeah, I am very confident. I think that's not being talked about enough. Tyreek Hill did have a career day, but after that first half, we figured out a way to shut him down. And it's about Todd Bowles is definitely going to have to have a better game plan going into Sunday, and I think he will. You got to have a safety over there next to Carlton Davis. For as good as Carlton Davis has been this year, there's nobody in the league that can cover Tyreek Hill one-on-one. So I think they showed a lot there. And if you go back to that Kansas City game, Brady had a couple turnovers in that second half where the Bucs were really making a run. If he didn't have those turnovers, they probably win the game. But I liken it to the 2002 season when the Bucs won the Super Bowl, when they lost to Philadelphia in the regular season, NFC Championship. They met them again, and they found out their weaknesses. They were able to exploit again, and they got it done. And I think it's almost the same thing that's going to happen here in this Super Bowl against Kansas City.
Yeah, but Nick, these are the Chiefs. Man, these are the guys that nobody's been able to stop for 2 years. You could say some of the games Kansas City has lost, the Bucs should have, you look at those games, and the Chiefs should have won those games if they actually had Patrick Mahomes starting. So what is it? What is this key factor that the Bucs can do to the Chiefs? Because I'm looking at the stats here, and it doesn't add up. So what is the one thing that the Bucs really need to do to beat this team?
It sounds obvious, but it's just as true as it sounds. They've got to score. They've got to score a lot of points, because Patrick Mahomes, when he loses, he's still putting up 30-plus points a game. And luckily for the Bucs, they can put up 30-plus every single game they go out there, no matter what, which is crazy, because I don't think the offense has actually clicked fully as much as we would have liked to have seen it to this point. But it's the Super Bowl. Tom Brady, this is what he's made for, and I think he's going to have it full steam ahead going. And then Tampa's defense has shown a knack for getting turnovers, and I think that they could definitely knock the ball out of some of these receivers' hands. Devin White is one to watch for that. He's been awesome doing that, and I think this is a very vulnerable Chiefs offensive line that I think the Bucs will be able to penetrate to if Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul can get free.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this game, I think the key factor, and you hit the nail on the head, Nick, is the defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Chiefs' offense, if they put up 47 points, it's going to be hard for Brady to put up that many points just to stay in the game with Kansas City. I think you look at that last game, and it was very evident that once the Kansas City offense got stopped, that defense can hang with them. So you talk about Devin White. Devin White's had a great playoffs, but again, there's this inconsistency with Devin White as a player. I would say, do you want Devin White more in coverage, or do you want him playing up more on the ball, especially with Patrick Mahomes getting out of the pocket?
I want him on the ball. I will say that right now about Devin White. I'm as big of a fan of him as anybody, but he has not been good in coverage this year, and I do not want him anywhere near Travis Kelce, because I don't think anybody on this team is going to stop Travis Kelce, but we need somebody in the vicinity of him, and I don't think that's Devin White. And Devin White had 10 sacks this year as an inside linebacker, which you don't see often anymore in the NFL. So he has that ability there to spy Patrick Mahomes and kind of roam the middle and definitely take the running backs out of occasion. So Devin White definitely needs to play right there and definitely be all up in Mahomes' face all day for them to win this game.
Now, your secondary was kind of riddled with injuries the past couple of weeks. Antoine Winfield, he was, I think, questionable for the game. He's just starting to practice. What do you see out of that young secondary? There are a bunch of young corners in that secondary. So what would you say out of those guys that you need to win this game, especially guarding a guy like Tyreek Hill?
I think it's more scheme than anything, and I don't think it falls on their shoulders. I think it falls on what Todd Bowles asked them to do. When they've been in man coverage this year, they've been awesome. They've been unbelievable in man coverage. When they play this soft zone, that's when they've been vulnerable, and that's what makes Tampa's defense really inconsistent. Carlton Davis is one of the best man-on-man corners in the NFL. Same thing goes for Jamel Dean, and Sean Murphy-Bunting has had an interception in every single game in the playoffs this year. And Antoine Winfield didn't even play in the last game against the Packers. So there's a lot to like here. And I think, like I said yesterday on bets, I think this is the key part of the game that's not being talked about a lot either, is Jordan Whitehead and Winfield. They've got to be able to play in this game. They cannot go into this game with Andrew Adams and Mike Edwards and expect to have a fighting chance. They just can't. They got to have Winfield and Whitehead back there because they're very important to the secondary.
Do you think Bowles is going to play that zone coverage? Because, again, all Bucs fans and most NFL fans have watched the Bucs and say, why are you playing zone? You're great as a man defense. But Todd Bowles clearly hasn't learned that yet. Do you think in the Super Bowl they're going to run mostly zone defense?
He can't. He just cannot do it. He has to go back to man. He has to be looking at the film and seeing, hey, my team's playing so much better in man-to-man. My players are made for man-to-man. That's what those guys were drafted to do. He's got to put the faith in the players.
But Nick, he hasn't done it yet. He's played zone pretty much every game of the season this year. So why is it now that he would just switch to man? You know what I mean?
Because it's working. Somebody's got to, if he's not going to do it, Bruce Arians or somebody's got to take over and be like, you got to play man. It has to be like that, or it's going to get ugly very, very quickly. He has to do it, and what I've seen him do a lot, though, he'll start out in that zone, and it's not working, and then he goes right back to man. It starts working, they get a lead, and they go right back to zone. That's not going to work either. It's got to be full man going forward, and I think that's their best shot against Patrick Mahomes.
Could that be the killer if you start out in zone and don't switch it until halftime? Is the game pretty much over if that's what happens?
I do. This is not a team that you can play around with, Kansas City. You can get by doing this against Washington in the first playoff game, but you can't do it against Kansas City. Nobody has been able to play mistake football and beat Kansas City this year. That's why they are where they are. They just steamrolled through the entire AFC, and they could still steamroll through Tampa if Tampa's not careful.
If Tampa Bay wins, we get to the end, Tampa Bay holds up the Lombardi. Is it Tom Brady that's the MVP? Do you see anybody else becoming the MVP of the game?
You know, that's hard because I think nowadays the quarterback is almost seen as a shoo-in to win that MVP more often than not. So I think Tom Brady, if we win this game, he's going to be the reason. But I said yesterday on bets also, I think that if somebody from defensively is going to win this MVP, I think it is going to be Devin White because he's going to be all over the field and he has a knack for taking away the football. So I think Tom Brady's your first bet if the Bucs win. Devin White's your second.
Hey, listen, Julian Edelman won the Super Bowl MVP a couple years ago with Tom. So that could possibly, hey, Mike Evans, if Tom, Mike Evans is Tom's security blanket. So if we know anything, Tom's going to throw him the ball a bunch in this game. He's got his own Randy Moss again, so I could see him possibly winning it as well. In your prediction, obviously you have the Bucs winning, but go through your overview. What do you think the score is, and how do you think this game is going to shape out?
I think it's going to be a nail-biter because this has been a fairy tale season, and I think we're in for a fairy tale finish here for the Bucs, and I'm going 37-31 Bucs. I think they're going to score one more touchdown than Kansas City. It's going to be late. It's going to be back and forth, and this is just what Tom Brady's made for. He's a fairy tale quarterback, and it just seems like it has to happen. All year long, I kept saying, there's no way they're going to get to the Super Bowl. It's in Tampa. It's just too much for me. But here they are. It's time to finish it off, and I think Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are going to be able to do it.
Well, Nick, for your sake, I hope the Bucs win. I think the city of Tampa would be pretty happy if it happened. Thank you for coming on. Also, check out HTF Bets when you get a chance. It's a great show. Up next, we have Robert Husby joining the show to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and their chances of winning the Super Bowl. Come on back.
I've already had a good week. This you're gonna get an L, Sean. I've never been 0-2 in any fantasy league of records that I've been in, and it ain't gonna start this week. I promise you. Projections don't mean nothing. Come back next week when you catch another L, Nick, like you've been doubting my Nuggets. Okay, just get ready to catch another L.
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best, 'cause it is what you say. That it's just what we need. You decided this. What you say? What did she say?
I am absolutely flabbergasted and shocked, frankly, that
the Rams are the underdogs. I say the Rams win at +2.5. It's not even close. Bet the house on the Rams. The Bills lose this one. I don't know why. It confuses me. I don't know.
What you say? Oh, that you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best.
The Astros are going to cry. They're going to lose in 4, and they're going to go home, and they're going to cry and think about what they've done.
What you say? Oh, that you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best.
Okay, so that's wrong. And I'm going Marlins because why not? The Fish don't lose in the postseason. Represent.
What you say? Oh, that you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best.
Welcome back to Almost Game Day. Like I said, I'm bringing on another HTF Bets host. This is the first time this has ever happened to talk Kansas City Chiefs and how they can win the Super Bowl on Sunday. So I bring Robert Husby. Robert, you were on last week, so it's great to have you. 2 weeks in a row, 2 Bets hosts. I don't know when this is going to happen again, so thank you for coming on again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it seems like I'm becoming a regular here. It's great to see. I'm excited, man. I can't wait for this weekend. It feels like the eve of Christmas Eve. We're not quite there yet into the holiday, but, you can feel it creeping up on you. I love it.
That's the thing. Let's look at this, right? Beginning of the year, we didn't think this was possible. We thought there was going to be a bunch of cancellations. We didn't know if we were going to get to a Super Bowl. So how excited are you that we just finally have gotten here and actually completed the season nonetheless?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You talk about, a year ago today, it's pretty crazy that, it was right before coronavirus really started taking off in the U.S. We had a Super Bowl last year, and now we're full circle. We're having another Super Bowl, albeit, obviously Super Bowl party is going to be a little bit different. Obviously the Super Bowl will be a little bit different this year. But no, I mean, just the fact that the NFL was able to complete the season when there was so much doubt around sports, really just, a good job to get everything done.
Now, Rob, let's talk about the Chiefs. Another historic season. You have Patrick Mahomes under center, and he kills it. So what have you seen that's different from last year's Super Bowl team? Are they a better team this year than they were last? Explain.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's hard to top what we saw last season with the Kansas City Chiefs. But no, I definitely think their defense has stepped up a little bit bigger this season. That's been always one of their biggest problems is their defense. But no, I think their defensive line has really improved. I think the defense overall has improved, passing and rushing. So I think they are better in that asset. But as far as the offense goes, I mean, it's hard to say that Patrick Mahomes is better. But he might be. He's more mature. He's coming off a Super Bowl. He's ready for this. And I think Patrick Mahomes, this is why people are already branding this kid the future of this league, because he is. Every year he gets better. And it's crazy to think. But, you look at his weapons, no doubt about it. Still got Tyreek. They added Clyde Edwards-Helaire through the draft. He's been great for them when he's played. Great set of hands on him, too. Travis Kelce, I mean, listen, it gets boring talking about how good that offense is because Tyreek is a top receiver. Kelce's arguably the best tight end in the league. So it gets boring talking about their weapons. But no, they absolutely are as good, if not better, just defensively from last season.
You were talking about the weapons, and I think it's a great segue because last segment we were talking about Rob Gronkowski and how, let's be real, if he's not the top tight end to ever play this game, he's certainly a top 5 tight end. But then you got a guy like Travis Kelce and what he's done in his career. Him and Rob Gronkowski are the same age. So in your opinion, I know this is a controversial topic, who do you think is better in their overall career? Is it Travis Kelce or was it Rob Gronkowski?
If you're talking prime, I think I would definitely take Rob Gronkowski. I mean, now you see how valuable he is when he does block. I mean, arguably one of the best blocking tight ends ever. And then, you talk about his performances when he wasn't hurt. I mean, Rob Gronkowski was always a top tight end. You see how heavy and how dependent Bill Belichick and the Patriots were on that tight end option for Tom Brady. And now that the Patriots don't have it, you can see it's really affected their offense, among other things. But no, I definitely think, Rob Gronkowski in his prime, blocking-wise, dynamic-wise, and I think what matters most is the clutch. And in the clutch, in the playoffs, Rob Gronkowski gets you there. I'll bring up the Rams. As much as it hurts me, the Rams versus the Patriots, Rob Gronkowski makes a clutch catch, and he gets it right near the end zone. They end up scoring a touchdown. It ends up being the difference in the game. So, no, Rob Gronkowski is the guy you want. No disrespect to Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, amazing. Right now, top guy at his position. I take him over Kittle. But no, I definitely think Rob Gronkowski, throughout his career, has been the better tight end.
See, I can't even fight you on that. I totally agree. But let's go to a receiver that everybody thinks is, if again, not the top in the league right now, a top 3 in the league. Tyreek Hill. Can you think, because I go back and I look at a bunch of receivers over the past, 30, 40 years in the National Football League. I can't find another receiver quite like him. Maybe Devin Hester, but Devin Hester and him, Tyreek is a much better receiver than Devin Hester. Is there anybody you can compare him to? And what makes this guy just so special?
Man, it's so hard to say. I'd like to say there is, but at the same time, it's like Hill does so much. I think it's the speed. I think it's the route running. It's the catching. He doesn't put up the touchdowns, but he does put up the yardage. As far as other guys you can think of, maybe Randy Moss. It's so hard to say, though. I mean, he really is in a class of his own. But I think with Tyreek, it's just, this is a guy that we haven't really seen before, like you said, but he's going to be standing out. And I think with the Chiefs, Mahomes is going to get a lot of credit for it. But, Tyreek absolutely deserves half that credit, because you see what he's done in the playoffs so far. Game against Cleveland, puts up over 100 yards. Game against Buffalo, puts up over 170. So this is a playoff performer right now. And, he's solidifying why he's one of the best receivers in the NFL right now.
So we've been talking about the weapons, right? And we see all the weapons, and we see what Patrick Mahomes is doing, and it's incredible. But you look at all the quarterbacks that the National Football League has. If you put a guy like Deshaun Watson on this team, I think he does probably the same thing Mahomes is doing. Would you disagree with that, or is that a good statement to say?
No, I think I gotta get you on there, man. As much as it's easy to say Mahomes has the weapons and Mahomes is a product of his team, I think you give him a lot of these wide receivers, and I think he's doing similar to what Brady did. Tom Brady made a living off, again, he had Rob Gronkowski, Julian Edelman. He kind of turned into close to a number 1 wide receiver. But no, I think this is the story of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is just this good. Now, I don't disagree that Deshaun Watson absolutely would be finding success with this team, but I don't necessarily think they're going to back-to-back Super Bowls if they have Deshaun Watson. I think Mahomes is that level of above the rest of the quarterbacks in the NFL right now, that he's just far and away the better guy, and he absolutely makes the Chiefs a better team. They're thankful they have him, because if they didn't have him, I don't think it's a guarantee they go to back-to-back Super Bowls.
Now, trust me, Rob, I completely agree. Patrick Mahomes is a top-level quarterback, and right now people are talking about him as being one of the greatest all-time already, and he's barely been in the league. But let's not get it twisted. You put this man on the Jacksonville Jaguars don't make the playoffs. So that's why when I'm looking at these quarterbacks, you can put 5 quarterbacks on a roster like Kansas City, and they'll do the same thing because you have a good coach, you have the good skill positions. Patrick Mahomes, yes, increases their likelihood of being that great. But if you put a guy like Deshaun Watson, hell, I could say, and Okel will love this, put Kirk Cousins on the Chiefs, and they'll get to the Super Bowl. They have the weapons. So what makes it different? Really, honestly. Obviously Deshaun Watson, but what makes those guys different with the same skill positions?
I mean, I don't think it's even comparable comparing him and Kirk Cousins. I mean, that's just disrespectful.
Okay, well,
in the words of Okelo, this is disrespectful.
No, I said Deshaun Watson first.
Yeah, Deshaun I agree with. I think Deshaun Watson, absolutely top 5 quarterback, potentially top 3 quarterback when it's all said and done. He needs to get to a better team.
Maybe Carson Wentz.
I haven't seen enough from Carson Wentz to make that statement.
MVP
I can't
of
say
one
that.
season should have been, but
I can't say that. I mean, the too many injuries, not reliable. Mahomes has been reliable. That's another thing. You know, health goes a long way, and Mahomes, knock on wood so far, really hasn't had any injuries, and so that goes half the way too. If you can get a guy that has longevity, health, reliability, I mean, that makes you even a top-level quarterback. So, no, I think absolutely Deshaun Watson could do good things with a team like this, but I think Patrick Mahomes just is this good that he makes everybody around him better. I mean, Tyreek's even at a level that he never was before getting to Kansas City. When he was with Cleveland, he wasn't – I mean, he was good, but he wasn't this good. I mean, Mahomes is getting the best out of him, and that's the key difference. Alex Smith didn't get the best out of Travis Kelce. Patrick Mahomes is. Patrick Mahomes is getting the best out of Tyreek Hill. He gets the best out of his weapons, and that's what makes Patrick Mahomes such a better quarterback than a lot of his compatriots.
So, Rob, Super Bowl Sunday, what do you think the score is, and how do you see this game going? A lot of people think it's going to be close. Are you with that same sentiment?
Yeah, I mean, I think the spread on this is about 3 points, 3.5 points. I'm gonna go with that. I think they cover. I think it'll be 31-28 Kansas City. My heart, I said this on bets, the heart goes with Brady and the Bucs just because I am such a big fan of Tom Brady throughout his career. I'd love to see him get ring number 7, but the mind says Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I can see them repeating. This is their best chance to really do some damage because, they already are starting to pay some of those players. They paid Kelce, they paid Mahomes, they paid Chris Jones. It's time to pay up pretty soon. So this is their best chance to go back-to-back Super Bowls. It's their best chance to start winning and really get off on the right foot.
Quickly, who's the MVP if the Chiefs win, in your opinion? Is it Patrick Mahomes? Is it that obvious?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hate being boring, but yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, we were talking about this on bets this week. It's so hard not to pick a quarterback because they're already giving the quarterback the benefit of the doubt. Patrick Mahomes won Super Bowl MVP last year. It would take Tyreek Hill. Well, it would take a defensive guy. It would take a guy like Tyrann Mathieu, Chris Jones. Doubt he would win it, but someone who gets a couple interceptions like Tyrann Mathieu to win defensively. Offensively, it takes a guy like Tyreek or Travis Kelce going off for over 100 yards, maybe 200 yards, similar to Devontae Smith when Alabama won the national championship this year. It takes you going off for 2 or 3 touchdowns, over 200 yards. And even then, I don't even know if that's a guarantee because everybody's going to say, oh, that's just Mahomes. That's Mahomes. It's so hard to say that. But yeah, I think I got to be boring. It's got to be Mahomes MVP again.
Listen, it's okay to be boring. If that's what you think, that's probably what most people think if they win too. Rob, thank you for coming on. Up next, I've heard enough. Let's see what my prediction is for the Super Bowl this weekend. Come on back. You don't want to miss it.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Welcome back to Almost Game Day. Such a great show. 2 great guests to give exactly what I needed to hear for the big game on Sunday. And when I'm going through the stats, when I'm going through the players, I think there's one player that I would never bet against, and it's Tom Brady. The Chiefs are great. Their weapons, amazing. Patrick Mahomes, MVP, probably going to go down as one of the greatest of all time, barring injury. The kid looks unstoppable in his early career. But the GOAT hasn't been stopped in his career. His 10th Super Bowl. He wins this, he's won 7 Super Bowls. It'll be his 7th Super Bowl to date. He's already won 6 of them. Patrick Mahomes, it's great. It's great that he's been this is his 2nd one in a row. It's great. But he's not playing Jimmy Garoppolo this year. I'm sorry to tell you that. He's not playing Brady's apprentice. He's playing the GOAT. Now, granted, anything can happen in the NFL. Mahomes could go throw for 500 yards, and the Chiefs can blow out the Bucs. I wouldn't be surprised. But If there's one thing I've learned in my entire life, especially as a Patriots fan, I've learned you just can't bet against Tom Brady. That's been my show. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl. Come back next week. We got more shows on HTF, a bunch of new content every week, and I'll be in the studio again on Friday breaking down what happened in the Super Bowl, and then we'll go into NBA and all the other sports coming up. Thank you for coming. This has been Almost Game Day. I've been your host, Sean Green. Thank you for coming. See you next week.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings